freezer, I can't even feel my toes. Students, I think, have always had a bit of a reputation for being apathetic. I mean, you know, back in the 60s and everything, students were leading movements of social justice, and in the last 10 years that hasn't been happening so much. And I think we're being criticised a lot by older people saying that we're apathetic and we're not politically involved and we don't care. And they cannot say that about us now. We are leading this movement, we are the vanguard of this movement, and it's an incredible privilege to be part of it, and it's really great to see students here. I'm going to talk a bit about occupations. Last week, some of you might have seen on the news, on the BBC in Warwickshire, that we staged an occupation at Warwick University. It was short-lived because security treated us like shit, to be quite honest. I'm sorry for the language, but they wouldn't allow us access to the toilets. You know, we couldn't stay in there any longer. But the point is that some people criticised us for that occupation, saying, what good is that going to do? You were in there for less than 24 hours. What good is that occupation going to do? And to them I'd say that maybe that occupation on its own is not going to do a lot, but the point is it's a drop in the ocean. Up and down the country there are hundreds of other occupations, strike actions, walkouts taking places, and with every drop in that ocean we're going to create a tidal wave that is going to smash this government. I also wanted to touch on what Lenny said. The vote on tuition fees is happening this Thursday. It is not looking good. We are constantly lobbying MPs to vote against the rise. But the point is that whatever happens on Thursday, whether the vote goes through or whether it is shouted down, students will be on the street. If we lose, we will be on the street, and if we win, we will be on the street, because there are still cuts that are criminal that are going on and that are going to affect everyone in this square, everyone in this country, and students will be there fighting against those cuts as well, even if we get tuition fees kept at the rate that they are. So we will be with you. I hope I can speak for all students here. We will be with you on the streets, fighting against welfare cuts, fighting against cuts to EMA, which is absolutely disgusting. That's the worst cut, I think, that's happening to education at the moment. We talked about homeless people. It's very important to remember there are students who are homeless as well. Students who are staying in hostels because they can't stay with their parents because their parents are abusive. Students in foster care. Students on the streets. Students sleeping in parks all across the country. What's going to happen to them if EMA is cut? Like, that is the only thread of life that they've got at the moment. So it's absolutely shameful that EMA is going to be cut at the moment. David Cameron announced last week that the government launching an initiative, £2 million it's costing, to measure happiness in this country. I think if he wants to find out about happiness, he should come to this square and talk to the people here. I think wasting £2 million on a survey to find out what makes people happy is absolutely ridiculous. Why doesn't he invest that money in welfare systems? Why doesn't he invest that money in education? I don't understand this government. So we need to send a really clear message that the money that the government are investing has to go to the right places. It is hypocritical and a comprehensive ideological attack on the poorer people of this country to say you're going to do a survey to make them happy at the same time as you're cutting thousands of jobs across the country. It is ridiculous. I'm just going to talk very briefly about two more things. The dangerous thing about this government, and the reason it scares me so much, is that it's actually very divisive. The cuts that are being made and the result it's having in the unemployment is very dangerous because it's causing scapegoating. And I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of the BNP and the EDL, who are constantly now blaming Muslim communities for what's happening and saying that it's their fault and that they're scroungers and that, you know, they're the reason this country's going downhill. And it's really, really important that everyone here today rallies and says, no, that is not the case. It is the government's fault and it is the fault of the bankers. It is not the fault of ethnic minorities or Muslim communities. And it is a disgrace that they're being scapegoated. So I really encourage everyone to remember that and to fight against the EDL and the BNP wherever they spring up. And they do spring up here in Coventry, make no mistake about it. Just to finish, during the election, David Cameron talked a lot about the big society, and surprisingly he hasn't really mentioned that much since he's actually got into power, because we know it's just a pipe dream, that it was just an election campaign. But I say to everyone here in this square on this freezing Saturday, you know, where it's raining and horrible and cold, and you'd probably much rather be inside with a nice cup of tea. This is the big society here that we can create. We can work together, we can strike together, we can unite, you know, unions, teachers, students, poor people, disabled people, working class people from every background. This is the big society we have to create, not the one that David Cameron envisioned or said he envisioned, the big society that we must create as a group of people. So keep up the fight, keep going, keep talking to each other, and thank you very much.